What's going on, golf addicts? Welcome to the Genesis Scottish Open DraftKings DFS preview. We're excited to have our buddy Mark Hill with us, the DP World Tour genius that is Mark Hill, our resident Irishman. He's not a Scotsman, no way. He's an Irishman, but he's familiar with these guys. He tracks a lot of these guys. It's a strong field this week for the Genesis, but there's still a lot of names that some people may be not super familiar with, and I think Mark could definitely help us here. So good to have you, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, DB. It's good to be back here, fresh off the Irish Open final round yesterday. I was down at Mount Juliet for that, which was a great experience.
That's right.
Yeah, I was there all day yesterday. Walked 18 holes with Soderberg and Lacroix, and then walked the back 9 with American John Catlin and Espen Kofstad. Or no, who's Catlin with? Was Espen Kofstad? Yes. Completely wayward off the tee on 13. At that point, he was leading at 16 under. Obviously, Moronk went and grabbed it. Eagle on 17 to seal the deal for Pat Mayo. So, yeah, I joked with Tom Jacobs and Skyler that maybe Pat's lined up to do the DP World Tour show this week, and you guys are stomping onto my territory now as well for the Scottish Open. So it's all good. It's all good.
It's all part of the it's all part of the PGA Tour DP World Tour strategic alliance getting stronger. We're all just gonna start bleeding over into this thing.
It's okay. Live are coming with the money for me. It's fine.
Yeah. We're gonna lose Mark from Live. Listen, we are presented to you by our friends at Fantasy National. Check out fantasynational.com/TJ to get 20% off any membership over there. Promo code TJ gets you 20% off. That's where all the stats, all the models, lineup optimizers, all that good stuff can all be found there at Fantasy National. So appreciate them, and we're going to get right into this. We don't want to waste a lot of time. Let's get into the DraftKings betting, or not DraftKings betting, the DraftKings DFS slate with Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, Justin Thomas, and Matt Fitzpatrick in the 10K range. So we'll start at this 9K range and up. You got Hideki Matsuyama in here, Cam Smith, Sam Burns, Zalatoris, Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, and Xander Schauffele. Now, we did a little bit of a course breakdown on the Renaissance Club, this is the fourth year hosting the Scottish Open there in North Berwick. We did a little bit of a breakdown on that with Diane Knox on the betting show. So if you've not checked that out, you want to do that. But yeah, fourth year here. It's link style. It's a modern course built in the last 20 something years, which I don't like. I wish they would use an old course, but we'll get that next week for the Open Championship. And then you've got the stronger field due to the alliance. You've also got the JP McManus thing going on in your neck of the woods, I guess, or in your home country. I don't know how close Adair Manor is to you, Mark, but that's a beautiful place.
About a 4-hour drive, so not too close. And technically a different country, but it's the nature of the beast in Ireland. But
yes. Get it right, DB. Come on,
get the politics right. Yeah, it's actually obviously the Ryder Cup venue in 2027 as well. So nice to get a look at it here and see how it's shaping up. I did actually go to buy
a Ryder Cup. We don't know. We may not have a Ryder Cup anymore.
Well, that's a fair point, actually. Yeah, never thought of it like that. Well, they were selling the Ryder Cup 2027 Adair Manor T-shirts at the Irish Open yesterday for $100 a pop. Ooh. So, yeah, top end of the tourism.
Some of these guys are playing in this JP McManus Pro-Am thing. Like Matthew Fitzpatrick caught my eye because I'm looking at the leaderboard early and he's like really sucking. So I don't know. We talked about it with Diane, or maybe they're drinking liquor over there or something because it's a Pro-Am and Fitzpatrick is sauced to the max. But currently he's tied with like Paul McGinley, which
we did see a picture of Jordan Spieth, Ricky, and JT playing, and they were having Guinness as they were walking down the fairway, which I like. I think that's fantastic.
Love that. Yeah. But maybe Fitzpatrick's like me. He's not a guy that plays well when he's drunk on the course. I can't drink on the golf course. I can't do it. All right, let's talk about this top tier range though, and what we're looking at. It's obviously a pretty stacked field. Like this is a very solid field here. We'll see what the weather's shaping out to do. I'm a little disappointed looking at the weather here on a Monday at 12 o'clock in the East, in the U.S. I'm disappointed in the weather so far. It doesn't look like it's going to be super windy yet again for this tournament at the Renaissance Club, but it at least looks like it's going to be fairly dry. So, Mark, have you looked at it at all? Do you think we're going to get the firm, fast conditions that we want?
Firm and fast conditions. Do I want it as a purist? I'm not so sure. I really wanted to see a windy. Yeah, it's not a pure links test here, but I wanted to see guys being tested. And the Aaron Rai win a couple of years ago, we got a real links test. Everybody, I think there was 11 under winning score in the end. But different kettle of fish this time around. We're looking at maybe a small advantage on the AM PM wave Thursday into Friday. So maybe when the tee times come out, I'll have a look at that. Maybe, if we're stuck between two or three golfers in a certain range, I might pivot that way. But no, it doesn't look to be too hard, and not a lot of rain in the build up as well. So yeah, we'll get firm and fast, but I want that wind picked up. I want guys to be tested.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Sunday's the only day right now that could get real windy. That you bring up a good point on the wave advantage stuff. I mean, we can't forget that that's always a big part of the Open Championship over here. But if you haven't paid attention to a lot of golf over here, that's certainly a thing. So good thing Patrick Reed's not playing. I think he tried to play, but I don't think he's going to be in, or he'd probably get the wrong end of the wave. But so the wave is a factor for sure. Other than that, like, I mean, it's going to be it. You don't have to be a bomber here. I think it obviously helps, but I think it's pretty open to me to almost any type of skill set. Short game creativity on and around these greens is obviously important with links golf, I think. And then ball striking, and if the wind does in fact start to pick up here. We talked about this guy on the betting show, but one of the guys that jumps out to me is Cam Smith. And I know he didn't play well at the U.S. Open. It kind of surprised a lot of people, but I think Scottish golf and links golf and windy or not windy, like suits very well for Cameron Smith. You used kettle of fish, and I've been meaning to work that in all year because I heard you say that in the very beginning. I'm really mad at myself. I've not worked that in, but I think these guys coming to this part of the world and playing in these type of conditions, being a different kettle of fish. I think Cameron Smith is used to that kind of fish, a little bit better, and it suits him more. So I'm very interested to see where he shakes out in terms of ownership and wave at 9,100. And then I think there's a lot of value in this 9K range with Burns and Zalatoris, Morikawa in here. Like, are we interested in anybody above 10K, like right off the bat? I mean, obviously, they're great names, but what do we think people are going to do? Do we think people are going to jump on this 10K range or not?
It's a hard one to weigh up for me. Like I'm obviously drawn to Rahm, despite the form. Is he going to do a Morikawa and try to find a few things this week ahead of next week? Have to weigh that one up. Justin Thomas, back-to-back top 10 finishes here. Definitely drawn to him. And Matt Fitzpatrick on a links course. Couple that with a recent form outside of obviously the JP McManus, which I've put on in the background here. But second place finish last year. So yeah, I can't argue with the prices. I just feel that construction lineups this week, you definitely have to be making the most of the DP World Tour guys down the board.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Pat, before we get into you, like, I think the easier thing to do in this range may be this, because all these guys are talented. The thing to do may be, who are we not going to play? Like, is there anybody in here that you would just avoid altogether, regardless of ownership? For me, I'm not buying Patrick Cantlay out here just yet. We talked about him a little bit on the betting show as well. I think, Pat, you like him a little bit. I want to see Patrick Cantlay like really do something in a tough conditions. I just don't feel like he's done that very well, like in major venues and tough conditions. He did play well at the U.S. Open, but that's different than what we're going to see here. So for me, Cantlay's probably the only guy that I think I'd probably altogether not be looking at.
Yeah, Cantley's my fate in this range as well. I think the last 12 winners, they've all teed it up at least 1 year previously at the Scottish Open. So Cantley's coming here not having done that, and that's a line through for me. I think he's coming here to test a few things out. I think we'll try to get warmed up for next week, and I do think you do need at least a tournament under your belt in the Scottish Open previously. A lot of the other guys in this range have done it before. Cantlay hasn't. And yeah, for that reason, I'm happy enough to swerve and move elsewhere.
All right, Pat, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Cantlay when we did the betting show at 25-1. I thought that was a pretty good good number for him, just based off the form and everything else. I can see, though, when you're kind of looking through on a DK, all these guys above 9K. I mean, he's sort of one that does sort of jump out at you a little bit as far as a potential fade. I'd be interested to see, though, where his ownership ends up coming in at. I'm with you, though. Like, JT really interests me up here.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, you kind of talked about this too, Mark, but I mean, there's a lot of guys, and especially in the low 7K, high 6K range from the DP World Tour, that I think we can kind of zero in on some good values. So you can go up here and take a guy like JT or even Scheffler at the very top, because I think you're going to get some value down in that lower 7K range. But over 10K, definitely love JT, and then I'm with DB on Cam Smith. At 9,100, I think you could even go JT and Cam Smith and then drop down and start from there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we're all excited to talk about, is really, let's get into this. Let's keep working down the board here. The top tier is some of the best players in the world. That's probably pretty easy to figure out. Before we move on, I do have to thank our friends at Front Nine Coffee. Front Nine Coffee is our new favorite partner, one of our favorite partners. It was local coffee, started here in Augusta, Georgia, in our hometown. Small business doing some big things. Love coffee. They love golf. So we even got our own blends of coffee coming out here pretty soon. I know we've been talking about that over the last couple of weeks, but you can go to front9coffee.com. That's the number 9coffee.com, and use promo code TJ to get yourself 10% off, everything in your order. They've got bulk shipping options now as well. If you spend, I think it's $25 or more, you get a great bulk shipping price there. They're delivering anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. Sorry, Mark. And it gets, when you order it, they're going to roast it, and then they're going to, prepare it, and then they're going to ship it to you. So it's not already roasted and getting stale. It's going to be fresh, delivered to your door. So support a good small business here in Augusta, Georgia, that supported the Tour Junkies podcast for most of the year. And we appreciate Front Nine Coffee. So check them out. All right, let's get to the 8K range here on DraftKings. We got our friend Mark Hill with us. Let's break it down. Mark, I'll let you kind of kick this off. You've got Jordan Spieth at 89. Hovland's in here. Joaquin Niemann, Ryan Fox, who's playing really, really well right now. Billy Horschel, good record kind of out here on this in the Scottish. Cam Young, what's he going to do, the young American? And then Max Homa at 8K. So what do we think about this 8K range?
I think the popular pick for everyone who's going to gravitate to a DP World Tour player this week is going to be Ryan Fox, without a shadow of a doubt. It's so hard to get away from him. I think Diane on the betting show hit upon the sort of Kiwi aspect, growing up on these style of courses. Couple that with a recent form, he's just been lights out. Shot a 64 yesterday on the final day. Moronk obviously wire to wire got the job done, but his form recently has just been outstanding, and it's yes, I like him from a betting perspective. DFS, we're going to have to come to a decision: is everybody going to gravitate towards him on DFS, and then we have to pivot?
Like, what's the percentage? Is there a percentage? Because I mean, we've also seen lately, like, everybody's got all these tools and everybody's sharp. Like, there is some chalk you just get. If you feel it, if you believe it, you eat it, and it'll pay off, right? Like, so. Is there a number for you in terms of ownership that you'd be like, all right, I'm going to bounce if it gets to this?
I think I'd be willing to eat it, to be honest, because I'm looking around the same range, and I can't have the same positives around that 8K range that I have around Fox. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, I think I'll eat it. But, yeah, Billy Horschel is another one that I'm drawn to. Mm-hmm. He's a friend of the DP World Tour. He's over here regularly. Won at Wentworth last year. Has some links pedigree as well so far. When he has dropped over here, done well in Texas and the Wind before. So Billy Horschel might be one of the lower owned guys in this range, even though he obviously had the win a couple of weeks ago at the Memorial. But I'm drawn to him. Fade would be Victor Hovland. The short game definitely just worries me around these types of tests.
Talk to me, Mark. You're talking my language there.
And he's also not teed it up at the Scottish Open before. Surprisingly, obviously being a European, that he hasn't, but that would be a reservation of mine as well. Yeah, just happy enough to stay clear with Victor Hovland.
Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree on Victor, and DB knows I'm a big Victor Hovland fan. I just love his ball striking ability. But for me, I just can't. I can't land on him this week, even in that 8K range. So I'm out on him. But My two favorites here, I do like Fox. I do think you're definitely going to have to make that decision on the ownership with him. And I agree. I think you just got to eat it. But, I love Horschel down at the bottom here, and I love Jordan Spieth. I just think Jordan Spieth is a guy that's got, the game that can play anywhere. He's obviously shown that with an Open Championship win. He's been playing well this year. So I think Jordan Spieth right there at the top here of this 8K range is probably my favorite. But definitely in on Fox and Billy Horschel too.
Yeah, so I love this range. I mean, because I do think, like you said, Fox and Horschel are going to be the two that get a lot of talk. I don't know where people will land on Jordan based on the last couple of weeks and seeing his putter, and everybody's terrified of the putting. But I like Jordan as well. I agree with Pat there, and I like Joaquin Niemann at 8,600. So I mean, I think between Spieth, Niemann, Fox, and Horschel, I could definitely just choose maybe two of the lower owned out of those four and roll. Let me ask you this, Mark. Would you be? I mean, how many of these 8K guys? I guess you could really. It'd be hard to start in the 8K range, like even with having Jordan, because you're leaving so much talent above the 9K range on the table. But any interest in Jordan for you, Mark? What do you think when we say Jordan?
I hark back to these guys that have not teed it up at the Scottish Open, and he's one of them, which is a slight concern. Although he did top 10 at Carnoustie at the Open Championship a couple of years ago, so he has that, and obviously the Texas element. But given I'm trying to find a winner, I don't think Spieth has the win equity here, and that's my big concern.
See, I think Spieth's got the win equity anywhere, buddy. It could happen at any moment. All right, but that we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right,
does he want the win equity for next week or this week?
I mean, he wants it. Yeah, for sure he wants it next week, but I mean, I think he'd take it rattling off a couple of them back to back. All right, let's get to the 7K range. This is going to be a juicy range for some names that will give you some ownership leverage, hopefully in GPPs on DraftKings, and that's where our buddy Mark is going to really help us out. So,
yes,
starting here, you've got obviously you still got some great names that are regulars on the PGA Tour having great seasons. Starting with the guy at the top, Keegan Bradley, who, I mean, that's a horse I've been riding all year long. Not sure I'm hopping off until he bucks me. So I think Keegan is a name for me that is going to be hard for me not to click with his continued ball striking success and just how well he's played all year. I don't know if he's ever played in a Scottish Open. Do you know that, Mark?
He has not, and finished T79 at the British Open in 2018. So
whatever.
Yeah, not for me.
Hopefully
personally.
That throws people off of him.
Yeah.
I think he's playing. I think he's playing at a different level in his career right now. Just from a ball striking standpoint, I'll keep going. But you've obviously got Justin Rose, who's been playing well. Keith Mitchell, Mito's showing up here. The guy who just won the Irish Open, Adrian Meronk, obviously playing really well. Brian Harman's a name a lot of people have talked about lately. Lucas Herbert, who's had some success on some links style courses and played well last year, and he's an Aussie. He's here. The Scotsman Robert McIntyre, Bobby Mack. So who do we think? Like top tier, the 7K range, who do you think are some GPP leverage kind of pivots for you, Mark?
I think Lucas Herbert is definitely one that I'm drawn to. I think he's done it both sides of the pond. Played relatively well there at the Irish Open last week. His location form is good. He's had two back-to-back top 5 finishes in Scotland as well, so that's a positive for him. You're getting him in and around a range where there's a lot of well-known guys to DFS players, and that could be a decent enough pivot to Lucas Herbert 7-6. Meronk obviously coming off that win. What sort of hangover is there from that at the weekend? Completely different style of course this time around, but definitely be respected. Tyrrell Hatton, has the game on paper to do very well at links course, but I'm happy enough to swerve, I think. I like Aaron Rai 7-4. Just Mr. Consistent. I think once he found his feet over in the PGA Tour, I think got the card and obviously missed a few cuts off the bat, and everyone sort of jumped off him then whenever we were all thinking, right, we're getting this under-owned guy from the get-go. But he seems to be finding something again lately. Played very well and consistent over the weekend, a top 10 So yeah, I'm drawn to Aaron Rai. And then I have a few in the lower 7K range. But I'll let you guys chip in with the higher guys.
Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, looking up at top, definitely Maroc, coming off of that win, I think is one that is worth a look there. I like Justin Rose. I mean, I like what I've seen with his game. I mean, his approach numbers have gotten better. Had a top 15 at the PGA, T4 at the Canadian, T37 at the US Open. His ownership levels have been, pretty low. I mean, just in his last 5 events, or 4 events, he was, 2.5% at the PGA, 13.3 at the Schwab, 6.3 at the RBC Canadian, then 11.5 at the US Open. So I think, Justin Rose could be one that I could play for sure up here. I'm with you on Herbert. I think he's a good play right there in the middle there at 7,600. So those are probably my favorites, before I think Seabez too. I mean, we saw Seabez play well this past week at 7,500. That could be interesting. The travel narrative could be a thing. I don't know if it, he plays all over the world anyway. So those are my 3 or 4 above, 7,500 that I like.
Yeah, so Keegan for me, I think Robert McIntyre is one I really like. I think he finished 18th here last year and 14th the year before that. Scotsman, definitely no stranger to strong fields and tough conditions. He's proven to be very good at that in his major championship experience. So I think Robert McIntyre at 76 is another one that I like. Looking at the lower part of the 7K range. So Mark mentioned Aaron Rai, which I was kind of happy to kind of avoid, but maybe you've talked me back into it. I'm just a sucker for Gary Woodland most times, especially if he's cheap, and I feel like in tougher conditions, and he's got that little stinger that we all get real hyped up about. If the wind picks up on a firm and fast course, I like that. Min Woo Lee is interesting to me. I mean, defending champ, and he's played well in strong fields too. The Masters, the U.S. Open, 27th. I like that. And then as we work down the board, like EVR, who I think played well here last year or the year before at the Scottish Open. EVR for me is one I'm looking at. And then actually a listener or a viewer on the betting show, the live betting show, threw this name out there, and I wasn't really even thinking about it, but could be some really interesting leverage is Harris English at 7,100. Like, if I was very surprised by the T19 at the Travelers coming off the injury, but if Harris is like that quickly going to kind of jump back into the form that he was in leading, before the injury, he's a really good value to me at 7,100. So those are some names for me. Mark, what do you have here for us?
Yeah, definitely Min Woo Lee. Drawn to him,
okay.
Obviously with the win. Game did okay at the weekend there in Ireland. Hao Tong Lee, now
just coming off the win.
Coming off that win, that crazy win, as I'm sure you all seen.
How in the world? How did you not bet that, Mark? I mean, how were you not on Hao Tong Lee?
Oh, disappointing. But when he started to turn it around, sort of tail end of last year, it was at the Alfred Dunhill, where he had an excellent first day. And since the previous week, he had played a sort of, I think it was like a charity event back home in China. He had must have been about 15 missed cuts in a row, was completely out of form, went home, finished second. And then you could see the golf game start to come around again. I think that win last week, that monkey off his back, he proved that he can still compete at this level. I think he's a quiet selection for next week, an under the radar one. And also, I think this week, 7-2, he's worth having a look at.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I'm kind of drawn to down lower in that range is Richie Ramsey, local Scot, 7K. Not in absolutely superb form, but will be at home here. And if I was to pick between McIntyre and Ramsey for this week in terms of top Scotsmen, I'd be drawn towards Ramsey or Knox with that change of putter. That was great information. So,
yeah.
And the glasses,
Ramsey has made a lot of cuts. He's just not finishing that high. But I agree. I was kind of looking at him, and then also, like, I was going to ask you about Jordan Smith. I mean, he's another guy that's made 12 of 13 cuts. Top 10 at the BMW, top 25 at the Irish Open last week, 10th at the European Open before that. So obviously in pretty good form. Is he one that catches your eye at all, or is
extremely consistent? I think the best part of his game came earlier in the year. He had a couple of, did he win in the end? It was certainly playoffs and top 2s and 3s type scenario. He was doing very well. I don't know if his game is fully suited to links, but I'll have to do a bit more homework on that one.
Yeah, and then also I think Chris Kirk is another guy at 7,400. Just really consistent and good form. Top 15s in 3 of his last 4 starts. So I think Chris Kirk there at 7,400 is another good play.
I like Kirk. All right, that's the 7K range. Now the 6K range, which is where there's a ton of names in here that most of us have never don't usually have to handicap in a week in, week out basis.
Yes.
But here we are. Now, definitely the Russell Knox intel that Diane gave us on the betting show is very interesting, as the putter is typically something we say here in the States, Mark, his bugaboo. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
I've heard of bugaboo.
But
just like the song.
There you go. Tends to be his problem. Seemingly, he got some glasses, which is maybe going to help. And he's switched to the long putter. So we'll see what happens there. Fowler is interesting at 6,900, given his record over here. And, who knows? I know Pat will probably say him. For me personally, like my favorites in here that I think could be low owned would be Lipsky at 6,800, who's really always been a worldwide player. Plenty of experience over here. I don't know specifically a Scottish Open record or experience, but I like David Lipsky. I like Padraig Harrington, your Irish, the Irish Godfather. Padraig Harrington playing great. Didn't he just run away with it at the U.S. Men's Senior Open not just a couple weeks ago?
He did. My reservation with Harrington is that did that over there. Came home to Ireland, came home to home, had a few drinks. He also played another 4 rounds at the Irish Open. He's going to be playing this JP McManus. It's a lot of golf.
Golf junkie though.
I know it's a lot of golf though. This might be, if he's teeing it up next week as well, this might be his little week for downtime. Doesn't mind a missed cut. Then he can refocus for the championship. So
he's even par at the JP McManus through 14 holes in round 1 right now. And then finally, the last one for me, and it's a guy I've talked about a lot all year, and I love the guy's talent, is Callum Tarren.
Yeah,
6,300. I'm sure Mark may have a name down here even lower potentially or in that range, but for me, Callum Tarren, I will have lineups with Callum Tarren at 6,300. That's it for me in the 6K range. Mark, what do you think about those, and who you got? Enlighten us.
Yeah, I'm very surprised at that 6-3 number for Callum Tarren,
isn't it?
Yeah, I've won at 6-3 as well though, so I will go head to head with you. But up the top though, 6-9 Victor Perez, Scottish girlfriend, possibly wife by this stage, and that went completely under the radar when he won the Alfred Dunhill. So came over, nobody was talking about it, and then in his post-win interview, he's saying, "Oh yeah, my girlfriend's from Scotland. I grew up around here. I'm playing the courses." So again, maybe a little bit under the radar. Again, recent form has been solid. Tee to green game's been very solid. So Victor Perez 6-9. I can't get away from Adri Arnhouse. I keep landing on this Spaniard at 6-7. Yeah, I just know that he has the accuracy off the tee is the big one. But I'm willing to overlook it, and he's had a bit of a rocky patch of form. But generally speaking, if he's going to go low owned in here, I'm happy to take him. John Catlin is definitely one I'm drawn to. So I walked the back 9 with Catlin on yesterday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And very, very good. Grades out 6th in this field in adjusted strokes gained approach. He has his coach over as well. His coach actually found Kofstad's ball whenever it went out of bounds, and they had to try and find it, and he found it. He looked like a player that was totally at ease, totally relaxed. He's shown it Scottish form before, which definitely drew me to him. Just one at 6-6 that I thought played very well over the weekend. The approach game is dialed in at the minute, and could be one that's maybe again floating under the radar there at 6-6. Nicola Højgaard, biggest hitter in the field from a DP World perspective. The Højgaard brothers in general will always get a bit of love. Rasmus tends to be the one that draws the more attention because he's had more big name events stateside at the minute. But Nicola Højgaard at 6,500. if that length comes into play this week, he's definitely got an advantage there. And the one that I am going to sink down to at 6,300 is another golfer that I walked 18 holes with at the weekend. He graded out number one for approach in the field over the 4 days at the Irish Open, and he passed up so many birdie opportunities from great chances on his green. His putting on the greens was absolutely atrocious. So, but it's not a consistent problem to his game. Just whatever was going on at the weekend. So Sebastian Soderberg at 6,300 is my under the radar pick
the US
down the board. Yeah, made it across. Like, I don't know what was going on at the weekend. He could have had birdie streak after birdie streak, but he just kept missing on the greens. But he's had top 5 and top 10 finishes with strokes gained putting in 2 out of the last 5 tournaments. So he has the ability to pull it all together. His tee to green game is there at the minute. Not the longest off the tee, but just terribly consistent on approach. So yeah, happy to have Sebastian Soderberg with some low ownership down there.
Love it. There's some good sneaky plays from Mark. Pat, what you got?
I mean, you can't ask me to follow the DP World Tour expert and Mark and expect anything from me. I mean, I like all those names. I had them all written down already, Mark. They were all written down.
Gotcha.
No, I did actually. I did look at Victor Perez. I liked him, and then when you mentioned Catlin earlier in the show, that I was immediately looking for him and where he was. I have to say Ricky though. I will say Ricky Fowler.
I know you do.
Because he is playing a lot better, and he's played a lot of golf over here. So he does interest me a little bit. But yeah.
When's the Live Tour announcement coming though?
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
Maybe he wants to play here, then announce it on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
But does he really want that kind of I guess he's not in the Open, is he?
No.
So I was going to say he doesn't want any of that during the Open, but he's not going to play. So
yeah. All right, listen, that's it. That's a crisp DFS DraftKings preview for the Genesis Scottish Open with our friend Mark Hill, our DP World Tour guru and expert. We appreciate Mark hopping in here last minute to give us some extra insight. So I would pay more attention to Mark's picks than our picks this week.
No pressure.
But I can't wait for next week. Can't wait for the Open Championship. But I'm excited about this week too. Like, just having come back from Scotland and having been in North Berwick and not played the Renaissance Club, but played in North Berwick. I'm excited to watch it. Get up and watch it. They're 5 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast in the U.S., so it'll be a good morning watch, and I can't wait. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with some prize pick selections at some point this week. Maybe we'll get a fantasy golf sommelier. I don't know. Maybe Pat, you should do some. You should have brought what was it, a Tannins or whatever? What was the Scottish beer we kept drinking?
Tennants.
Yeah,
Tennants.
You should.
I wasn't a huge fan. I didn't drink a lot.
It's awful. Nobody drinks.
I didn't drink any of it either. I
don't
drink Guinness, but that doesn't apply for the Scottish Open. So, all right, who knows what Pat will do? It could be water again. It could be I don't know, whatever you're feeling.
I'll come up with something, but I probably am doing an FGS this week. So.
And we got some prize pick stuff going on in the Nut Hut as well. You're going to want to pay attention to that. So that's it for the week. May your screens be green, and have a great Scottish Open. See you. Out. This could be you at our support group Saturday Scramble event on September 24th at Mountain Valley.
It's the Tour Junkies Support Group Saturday Scramble, September 24th at Mountain Valley Golf Course in northeastern Pennsylvania. Tickets include golf, food, beer, wine, TJ signature cocktails, special hole challenges, a huge after party, and the 16th hole Boom Dome experience. Boom. Plus legal gambling. Search Tour Junkies at eventbrite.com and reserve your spot today.
Just chilling. They'll let you do anything here.